Jo.
And I'm Thee.
And we're back for season 2. Welcome back. It's been quite a few months since we last were together, and we're not going to bore you all with the details. But we have an exciting guest today, and our episode is Spirits and Spirits, a conversation with a medium.
So today we have a very special guest joining us. She's smart, insightful, and probably knows me better than I know myself. And sometimes that's to my own detriment. She's also my ex-wife, which means she survived both marriage to me. Not yet.
We're out of practice.
We are out of practice. And then I'll
we'll
go.
Get it.
Okay, we can start over, but that was a really good start, buddy.
We could cut this part out.
Okay,
You want to start over or just...
so I can start my thing again? Okay.
You start your thing again,
Okay.
right? You can just cut that little.
Just go.
So
Wanna
today
clap?
we have a very special guest joining us. She's smart, insightful, and probably knows me better than I know myself, sometimes to my own detriment. She also is my ex-wife, which means she survived both marriage to me and our divorce. So that alone deserves a round of applause. But seriously, we've stayed great friends, and I'm thrilled to have her here to share her unique perspective. So please welcome Elizabeth to the podcast.
Yay. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
See, it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Super
We're excited to
excited.
have you, Elizabeth. We're excited for season 2, and here you are to help us introduce our second season.
Yeah, so before we get into the subject, we're going to break her in with a little whiskey tasting.
Heck yeah, we are.
Oh, for those of you that couldn't see it, her eyes, she's like, wait a second.
So a little bit about this one to kick it off. I picked one on our topic called Old Soul. It's a cast strength Smitty store pick here in Grand Rapids, uncut, unfiltered, from Cathead Distillery. Joe, you're going to like this. 21% rye.
I will like this.
75% corn, 4% malted barley. Little bit about this. Old Soul is a precise blend of 2 whiskeys, each with an identical high rye mash bill and aged for a different amount of time. Each barrel's reviewed by nose and palate, the old-fashioned way. And expertly blended from whiskeys distilled in Indiana and Mississippi, so I'm guessing it's some MGP. And Joe's face is saying enough.
Wow.
This
well be
is
strong.
123 proof.
Get the cue.
So,
Am I supposed to smell this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Inhale.
You should tell us what you smell.
yeah.
It must not be good.
It's
I have no words to describe it at this time.
Not even like
Burning my nose.
gasoline,
Ethanol, caramel, cherries, leather.
vanilla, honey, cinnamon, clover. Anything? I'm just giving you words.
I like
it doesn't
that.
have to, I'm not actually smelling all of these things. I'm just giving you words.
So, a little hint.
Oh, Joe. Joe, did you go?
She went
Did go-
for,
What,
Went.
what you
Holy-
got?
Whew.
you got to talk for the thing to pick you up.
But sorry, it's
We're on
burning.
a podcast.
It's burning my throat. You know, at first I was like, "This is good," and then it went down my throat, and I'm like, "Mm."
So, according to the review tasting notes, sweet notes of vanilla reminiscent of bakery goods and sugar cookies with hints of fresh leather. I didn't get the burn as bad as you did.
No, me either. You guys are wuss baggers.
No, I like the when you
Joe.
breathe in after it goes down your throat. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, don't.
The guest,
Listeners, don't listen
the
to
guest
Athena
is
on-
taking
Athena
us
on
down.
She's laughing at us.
I agree, Thee.
Oh yes.
I agree, Thee.
I definitely get the rye. Kind of
Oh.
the burn
Yep.
comes from the rye side
Yep.
of things.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually do kind of smell the vanilla.
Oh, now I
I
smell.
got vanilla.
Yeah.
I think the corn brings the sweet, right?
Yeah, corn will bring the
Yeah.
sweet out. Tasting notes, elegant and balanced mouthfeel, showing notes of rose and dried cherry, followed by toffee and baking spices. Rye spice and herbaceous notes appear mid-palate and into the finish, which the finish, they say, is rich, earthy finish led by lingering rye spice. And when I first read that, I thought it said lingerie.
Yeah, you did.
Why? I don't know, but that's why.
I like it.
So if you want to put any water in there or ice and try it, or you're good.
I tried it. I thought it was good.
And you're done.
And I'm done.
I'm gonna stick with my ice water.
Okay. So on to our guest.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So a couple questions for you here just to kick things off. Can you explain the difference between a medium and a psychic?
Yes, I can. So a medium is somebody who can actually hear, sometimes see, or sense a person who has passed on. A psychic is more somebody who feels something that's coming in the future or can pull something from the past.
Okay.
So I have a question on top of that. Are you kind of a blend of both?
Yes,
Yes.
I would say I knew I was a psychic first.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I was in my 20s before I realized I was a medium.
Tell us more about that.
Well, the first time it happened, I lived in Anchorage, Alaska, and I was playing the Ouija board with some friends of mine, and I got to remember how the whole story went. It was so long ago. So we were playing the Ouija board at the kitchen table, and of course we turned all the lights off for the spook factor and all things fun. And during this session, behind the girl who was sitting across from me, for the first time, I got an image of a shadow. I kind of blew it off. Just to be clear, there was no whiskey involved. Just so everybody is clear, there was no whiskey
that
involved
kind
in
of
this.
spirit right now.
No. And so behind her was kind of a shadow, which I didn't say anything about. And just to kind of, we can talk about this later if you want, but this has been in my life for a very long time. This psychic mediums is not taboo. It's nothing I'm afraid of. It's something that's been around for a long time in my family. So I saw it and I was like, well, this is interesting. I've never seen anything like this before. So that was the first time.
Wow. Wow.
So you were saying it's been in your family.
Yeah.
So who was the first one in the family that you're aware of? And,
So my grandma, she was a psychic.
okay.
Actually had helped the police department out back in the 70s. The church had come to her a couple times back in the 70s. She has given numerous readings. And then my mother and aunts, and it stems from my mother's side of the family. If this will tell you anything, I'm Italian Catholic.
Me too.
Crazy people.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, yeah. And my grandma always talked about it with us. It wasn't like scary or you don't talk about that. I remember a time when I was 8, she told me about banshees. And I was scared the living shit out of me. But she did tell me.
Wow. I've never heard of banshees like being more realistic other than stories like, when you're growing up,
Sure.
mythical stories and
Yes.
stuff.
Yep.
Do they exist?
I don't know. I've never seen a banshee. I've heard my grandmother's stories, but I know the myth and the legend of them, but I don't know.
I can tell you, her mother used to read for me, and that woman nailed me every single time. She knew when I was going to change jobs. She knew all this stuff about me, and it was incredible. She was just definitely, I always went to her with like big stuff because she always nailed it.
So curious, because you mentioned your grandmother and your mother. So it's a female sort of only, or are you aware of any males in your family
I am
who have the
aware of
gift?
some males, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And for their autonomy, I'm gonna just say that and not say who they are.
Understood. No, I
But
just thought I
just-
was curious.
So just for the listeners, though, this isn't something that you do publicly and charge for.
I've
or
never charged a
anything
dime
like that.
for it. I don't, to be quite honest, I think it's terrible to charge for it. If you're literally bringing somebody a piece of speaking to their relative or something you've got, no, I don't think it's right to charge for it. It's not a job. It's not for monetary gain.
It's a gift.
It is a gift.
What do you think of those shows? And I forgot to look up the names of them, but like what is it, Brooklyn Medium or
The Caputo or whatever.
Yeah, so Long Island Medium.
That's it.
I've never watched her show.
No.
Nope. I have watched Tyler Henry.
Okay.
He is a medium to the stars. I've
Right.
watched him. There's certain characteristics he has that I feel like I'm like, give him some credibility to me. I mean, I would never deny somebody's gift, say, yes, they do. There's just certain, I guess, energy or vibes about him that I'm like, okay, I enjoy his show. I feel like he's on it. Mm-hmm. I've never watched The Long Island Media.
I haven't either. I watched Tyler too.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was a little too out there for me.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you guys ever? No, you haven't, Ryan.
No.
Weird.
Joe, have you ever watched any of those?
Yeah, I've seen them. It's not something that I chase down or want to watch all the time. I mean, I know one, and when I have questions about my life, or just a feeling I have, or I need to, I don't know, whenever I just need something, an answer, I reach out to her and I ask her.
Does she ever offer it when you don't want it?
Yep. Yep. Love you. You're so great. Just look at her.
So do you have any cool stories? Like either positive or negative or one of each?
I have a lot of stories.
Oh, perfect.
I mean, a ton of stories. Well, I can tell a story from a time just recently, actually. It happened in October of this year at a local bar here. I had went down to see my friend, was hanging out with a group of people. At the other table was a younger couple, so they're probably like in their mid-20s. And there was something drawing me to the male of the couple. And you tend to go through, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, in your mind. And I'm going, leave me alone. And it's persistence. Like sometimes I can get them to go, okay, I'll just leave you alone. But then other times it's persistence. So I decided to walk over and speak to him, and I addressed him and I said, I don't know you, you don't know me, but I have your father here with me. And he said to me, my dad's dead. Of course, I took him off guard, right?
Right.
So he's kind of like a little taken aback with me at first, and he's like, my dad's dead. And I'm like, I know your dad's dead, and he's here with me. And then snowballed. He looked at his girlfriend and said, did you set this up? Are you playing with me? Did you set this up?
Oh, my gosh.
And she, of course, didn't know me either. And I'm like, nope, I don't know her. And introduced myself and kind of explained what I do. And we had probably about a 20-minute conversation in the bar. Answered some of the questions he had, discussed certain things only he would know. And even when I got ready to leave and he gave me a big hug and said, thank you so much. I have been missing my dad a lot lately and wanted to talk to him. And even when he left, he's like, are you sure? To his girlfriend, are you sure you didn't hire her? And we both were like, no, we promise. And I have not seen him since.
Interesting.
And that has happened more than once.
So was he pretty open?
He wasn't at first. He was a little taken back, by who are you? What do you mean? You were talking, somebody coming to you talking about your dead father is, And then as soon as I was able to tell him his father's name and tell him a story from his childhood about a horsey, then the doors were open and he was ready to listen.
Do you find when you tell a story like that it's specific enough? Because I had a reading when I was in New Orleans, and I went in just utterly convinced I was not going to give this person anything. Like I wasn't going to let my face reflect anything, And for me, that personal reading, it was okay. It didn't really give me I believe vibes, Like I really felt like, he's like, your family has a disease. And I'm like, what freaking family isn't battling some kind of disease right now? And I'm like, we have type 1 diabetes running through but I didn't I held my face and I'm like, I can't give this person something to feed on, right? And he moved on.
Never do.
So like that story you said about a horsey, how specific did you have to get before he was like, yeah.
I told him he was 12. I told him his dad was leaving for work. I told him he was playing with his little plastic pony in the front living room, and it was his sister's.
Oh,
and he said, how do you know that?
That is pretty specific.
At that point, I probably would have been freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were together. I don't remember what city we were in. We were living somewhere.
Champagne.
Of course you remember. Mom remembers everything. But we were out to dinner, and the same thing happened. And to her, and then I looked over at the waitress. I'm like, I don't even remember what I asked her, but she was talking to her dad, but it wasn't her dad, it was her stepdad. And she had a conversation with her. Did you lose your dad? And she's like, what did she say?
So I asked her, I said, has your dad recently passed? And she's like, no. And she went about her business to get our waters. And she comes back and she goes, well, my stepdad did 3 months ago, and he was more like a dad than my dad. And I said, okay, this is for you. And then we addressed her mom. Her mom had cancer. I had talked to her about that, and she said, yes, she does have cancer. And she's like, I've been worried sick if she's going to be okay, how much longer she has to go, and was asking me certain questions about that I had answers from her stepdad.
So questions like that, though, are you ever hesitant to answer? I mean, it's like I knew when my dad was going through cancer, I would have wanted to know, but I wouldn't have wanted to know, because it's like, okay, now do I live my life thinking that he's going to be done in 2 months, but really I've got a year, or I don't know. I mean, are there situations?
Hesitant. Yeah. Joe used to ask me, which one of my parents is going to die first? I'm not telling you that. Even if I did know, I'm not telling you when your parents are going to pass over. I'm just not doing it. I mean, I do not know, so don't ask me.
I'm not gonna.
But you used to ask me,
I did.
what do you
It was a
know
long
about
time
this?
ago.
What do you know of this? And no, I am definitely hesitant. And you can gauge the person you're reading, like how much information you can give them and how much you can't, what they can handle and what they can't handle. And you gauge it that way.
You're super, sounds like you're sensitive.
I try to be.
Like, not just to the spirit, but to the people that are receiving the message.
I try to be. I mean, I'm coming at them out of left field, somebody they don't know. I mean, I would literally be like, crazy lady, run, run, run. And I don't want them to run, so I do try to understand their point of view as well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a time when we lived in Decatur. Remember our friend?
It was champagne.
No,
No,
this
it's
one was Decatur.
It was April.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
We lived a lot of different
I'm just
places.
did. We
kidding.
moved all the
Yeah, I
time.
know you did.
It was Al, and he was a skeptic,
Very much so.
very much so. Mm-hmm. He was a skeptic, and I gave him a reading, and he changed his mind.
So when you say give a reading, is that when a family member or someone they know is present, or is that like something different?
It's actually both, and it depends on the situation. Because I do read cards, not tarot cards. I read playing cards. And that is just a reading. And sometimes somebody will come through, and sometimes somebody won't. It's just a reading. That's more intuitive. Everybody's a little intuitive. You are. I mean, everybody has that sense to them. You can assess a situation and kind of become intuitive about the person you're speaking to. And that's why I often will warn people when you're getting a reading, don't say anything. Like you were trying to do, don't say anything. Because I would say 9 times out of 10, they're only guessing off of your reaction to things.
Yeah.
Right.
Which gives people who don't do it for monetary reasons, who, I mean, I will look at you if you came to me and said, Ryan, can I get a reading? I'd say, sure. If nothing came to me, I'm going to tell you, I have nothing. I'm not going to make something up to give you something, because then you don't trust me. And now we have an issue, and that, degrades my name when I'm willing to come on here and say, hey, I see dead people.
Yeah, and I think like my only experience, and I've never had, I have a few stories I'll tell, but like the experiences I've seen on TV and stuff, it's always debunking, right? It's the people that are doing these big sessions people go to pay for in an auditorium. They're doing cold readings, but really they've got listeners in the audience listening as they're going in, and then they read their reactions. They're people readers.
Yep.
For that point.
Yep.
So I've seen, and that's where my skepticism comes from, because I've never encountered anything other than watching it on TV. Now, one story that I've got that was kind of bizarre was we lived in Ohio at my parents' house, and there was a cemetery about 2 acres behind us from the Revolutionary War. And there was one night, I was like 5 or 6, went into my parents' room because I had woken up and was scared, was laying at the end of the bed, And I remember falling back asleep, but then also there were two ladies in long flowing gowns combing their hair at the end of the bed in the mirror, looking in the mirror. And it, like, when I woke up, I felt like something had been real. Like, that was, I don't know. Like, my hair was standing. You know, and I was young, but I still remember that very vividly at that point. And could it have been dreaming because we were out at the cemetery, you know, looking
Sure.
at things the day before? Probably or possibly. But it was like, that was kind of a interesting experience.
So I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to the words that you're using to describe the feelings that you had when you saw that. And you said, you know, it was weird, it was interesting. You said you went into your parents' room because you were scared. Were you scared when you saw the two women combing their hair? Scared?
Not really.
Interesting.
It was, you know, whatever. I don't remember what it was that scared me to go in there. Mm-hmm. But when I woke up, I felt like I'd been sitting on the edge of the bed just watching them comb their hair for 5 minutes or something. Wow. So that was kind of bizarre.
So that takes us to an interesting conversation, though, of do you think the other side can come to you in your dreams, or do you think they all are just manifested of our subconscious? Because I have been visited in my dreams. So do you think maybe, while you can say, maybe I was dreaming, maybe you were, but were you given the vision?
Good point. Because I'll have conversations with my dad in dreams, and it takes, you know, and it's not like I'm sitting in bed saying, have dad come tonight.
Sure.
But there are certain times since his passing 6 years ago that I'll be doing something challenging at work, or, you know, facing something with the kids going to school or whatever, and then he'll be there. The thing that bothers me is, like, I don't get the complete conversation. You know, it's like I want something more, but just seeing him, you know, in the dream is enough to kind of put me at ease a little bit.
That makes sense.
But then it leaves me frustrated that I didn't get to finish the conversation that I was having.
Sure.
You don't feel resolved?
Right.
So did you create that, or did he come? Because that's when we're
question.
at our most vulnerable, right? We're sleeping. The outside influence of the world is not affecting us. So your skepticism is gone. Your daily woes and worries are gone. And your mind is open when you're sleeping.
So when you're doing a reading, I mean, and this is kind of bringing me to that, like, what is your mindset or state of mind at that point in time? Like, does it just tune everything out and then it's kind of like black except for, I don't know. I'm just...
You know, I like that analogy. No, it kind of depends on how into it I am and how strong they want their message put across. It depends really on me and them. It's a relationship between me and whoever's trying to speak to me from the other side. It really is a relationship. I have to trust them. They have to trust me.
Okay.
So it kind of depends on their energy. Sometimes I absorb their energy.
That's interesting, because you were talking about, so before you got here, Ryan had kind of looked up some differences between mediums and psychics and had put it in perspective with energy. And I thought, because I told him, you know, like, I'm familiar with, similar to what you explained, that it's like who's passed on and who's, you know, versus seeing in the future or seeing in the past like a psychic.
Correct.
But Ryan, so I'll let you tell him what it is. He heard this really great definition, and I'm actually really impressed by it. Like, it feels like it makes sense, and it aligns with what you just said about energy.
So, and it was a doctor I was watching on YouTube prepping for this. Okay. But I forget which, it was a reputable university that he was at. But he was talking about, like, the psychic side of things is the real world energy is like a lower energy level, and compared to like the medium side of things, which is with the spiritual world, is a much higher energy level.
Yes.
Is kind of, and then the medium can kind of go with both.
It's like a veil, right? That sits between the two energy levels, and there's certain people that can broach that veil.
Can you
Interesting.
Can you imagine? So you mentioned that, your family kind of has always talked to you about these things. I mean, even before your gifts were present.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine, like if you were a mom and you didn't want your child to have this gift, so you kept it, like any sort of knowledge about it from them, and then all of a sudden they have this kind of gift, which could probably be pretty terrifying if you weren't aware of a possibility of it. Like, I can imagine, like,
Yes.
you were talking about the Ouija board story when you first became aware. Like, I just can't imagine not, I don't know, telling your child, or how it would feel to not know you might have that gift. Like, how terrifying that might be. Do you know anyone?
Well, I can address it from my own viewpoint with my own 6-year-old.
I was going to say.
So this is something obviously that is not taboo to me. So it's not taboo for me to discuss it with her. However, she's 6.
Right.
So I have my limitations. She will say to me, "I'm scared of the ghosts. Ghosts aren't real." Right? And I'm thinking, if there's these 5 ghosts behind me going, "You liar, you can hear us." So, I'll tell her ghosts aren't real and this and that. So I don't discuss the word psychic mediums or anything with that.
Yeah.
Now, when she gets to a certain age, I will discuss it with her teacher about card reading if she's interested. If she's not, that's totally on her.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing I don't have those conversations with her ever. This was about 6 months ago, maybe midsummer. We were coming home and she was in the back seat and she just very happily told me, "Mom, I'm a psychic." And I said, "You don't even know what that means." "Yes, I do. It tells the future." I said, "You can tell the future?" "It does. You're going to love me forever." And that was it, right? That was the end of the story.
Oh, that was your reading?
That
your
was
psychic
it,
reading?
yes.
You're going to
So
love me
that
forever.
was the end of it. But it struck me odd because I've never said the word psychic to her. I've not discussed this with her. So somewhere along the line, she heard it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to broach this. Yep, I'm going to love you forever. Let's move on. So will the day come when I have conversations with her? Yes, there will be.
Yeah.
So do you ever have visions or experiences about your own life?
No,
Interesting.
unfortunately. And it's actually very hard to read for somebody else too. I have a difficult time doing that and sometimes won't. And the reason why is because I'm still human. And sometimes, Joe will ask me questions and I can't because I know Joe. I know what's going on in Joe's life. And it's super easy for me to put, well, I know Joe wouldn't handle it this way, so I'm not going to say that. So even if I'm getting a legitimate message, I could possibly skew it.
Right.
And I don't want to skew it. So I'm really cautious about reading for people I know and you never see, which is the weirdest thing. You never see anything, about your own life. But okay, so I'll kind of give you an example of it's hard, but in July, I was at my mother's house and my aunt was over, so her sister, and she looked at me and she said, "Next month is going to be a terrible month for you." So that would have been August she was referring to. "Big changes coming for you." And I was just like, okay, that's kind of vague. She's like, "But I can't see it." And I said, okay, well, I'll stay on the lookout, let you know. And she said, "It's going to be life altering." Okay, again, vague, but I was like, okay. 3 weeks after she told me this, my mom died.
Oh, wow.
Which was her sister. So there is that probability that you wonder, could she not see it too? Could she not get, because it affected her as well. It was part of her life. Mm-hmm. So was it something she was feeling but couldn't quite get there with the vision?
Because it was part of
her world. It would have rocked her world too.
Wow.
That's interesting.
But she called it out 3 weeks. I mean, and it wasn't like, oh, you got to change coming up. You're going to change jobs. No, she's like, this is going to change your life. Hang tight. Whatever's coming is going to alter your world. Okay?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is a hard thing to say, going back to what you said with your reading. You're vague. You're trying to pull things out of me. Had it been a different person and not my aunt, I might have been like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Right.
Anybody's got stuff coming in 3 weeks.
Right. I was like, well, I was about to ask you, how many times has your aunt or anyone else around you ever said that to you? And you're like, oh yeah, I got a new job next month. Yep, that's big.
Yeah.
Life altering, new job.
Hey.
What?
That's not our normal reach around music, but
It sounds like
I think
it's
it's
time.
about 30 minutes in, so we are ready for the reach around.
I didn't know reach arounds were part of this deal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You got to have a second sipper.
I would not have agreed to this.
It's about to get real. Here you go.
So, it's a different kind of whiskey.
This
It
is a
is.
different kind of spiritual
I
whiskey.
thought you said you listened to our
Spiritual.
podcast.
I do, but I'm trying to feign like I don't, like I'm a new guest.
Gotcha.
I'm going along with it.
I guess I'm reaching around for
Thanks,
you, Joe.
buddy.
There you go.
I couldn't reach it.
So, T, this is your drink. You want to...
That's
Fill
right,
us
it
in.
is. So a few years ago, Ryan introduced me and Joe to this Angel's Envy.
Rye.
Angel's Envy. It's a special rye, isn't it? Finished rye. I
Yeah,
want
it
to say.
is finished.
Yep. So I thought, angels might kind of apply to our conversation about spirits, and so I brought over a bottle to share with you guys. We like to call this Christmas
It
in a
tastes
bottle.
like Christmas. I
Yeah, so
swear
this
to
is
God.
It's like
this
a
is not a
Christmas
new
spice.
one for us. So I'm excited for you to have this.
Can I ask a question
experience.
of you
Yes.
experienced whiskey drinkers? What is finished rye?
So once they're aged, and it's a bourbon, but once it's done with the bourbon aging process in the oak barrels, they'll take it and put it into a different cask to finish it. So it could be like some kind of wine cask or a different used cask. Because to be bourbon, it has to be a new cask, new oak barrel, charred oak barrel.
Oh,
But
okay.
after that, it's still bourbon, but they can re-age it in a different cask. So this one, I would have to look at. I don't remember what the cask was that they aged it in,
Yeah, I can't remember either.
but it's super smooth and very Christmassy.
Okay.
Well, I saw you take a sip.
I did take
What do
a
you
sip.
think?
I don't dislike it, but I have to tell you, the first one is my favorite out of the two.
Shut your mouth. Get out. Just kidding.
What are you talking about? You loved ryes for so long, and
That was
then
burn, baby, burn, though. Whew.
yeah.
I love this one, though.
This one doesn't burn like some of the other ones.
I have to say, after this being my second drink today, it tastes different.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
So I think that Old Soul changed my palate.
And that's so while we're talking whiskey for a few minutes,
Mm-hmm.
I had, you were with me. We were all doing the testing for the next season the
Mm-hmm.
other night, and we only had Maker's Mark. Like, Maker's Mark to me, and I'm a Maker's Mark ambassador, which doesn't mean shit, but means I passed a test online and they have a barrel with my name on it down at the.
I feel like we should do the round of applause for that.
Yeah,
I do too.
that-
Yeah.
Whoops,
Delayed.
wrong thing. Now I got to find the button.
Yes. Yeah, ambassador.
DJs can't tell the story.
I know multitasking is a ADD nightmare. So the Maker's Mark was, if I drink that and that's all I'm having, it's fine. If I drink something else and go back to it, I feel like I'm drinking jet fuel. It's just your palate changes very
Sounds
quickly.
terrible.
Yeah, it's not a favorite, but having drank those two, and they were both special releases, they were both very good. But I would not ever drink it after I've had something else or before I've had something else.
Can I ask each of you a
Or
question?
at all.
Yeah.
So you sit at the podcast and you do the whiskey. Is that your drink of choice if you're out? Are you just going to get a tiny glass of whiskey and drink whiskey? Or do you not actually drink that when you're out and about?
Good question. For me, it depends.
We found our fourth host.
There you go.
Yep.
In the summertime, honestly, I prefer beer. Like, I like to grab a beer. But if I'm out with these two, I'm probably going to try whatever whiskey is available because we probably went to that place because they have good whiskey there.
Okay. All right. How about you?
For me, it's all whiskey. Mm-hmm. And the only reason being, beer makes me sick.
Okay.
Like I went through a process after college. Like college, I was drinking whatever cheap beer was out there. I couldn't afford anything good. And my taste buds were different.
Yep.
But like as I'm getting older, I think my taste buds are kind of numbing a little bit and
Too much
or
whiskey burning them
dulling.
off.
So
Yeah, it
he
could
needs
be
something
that.
with a little kick.
So I will say There are rare times where I can drink like Grey Goose and
Okay.
and be okay. I think when we were in Dominican this
Yep.
past fall,
We drank everything.
we
Everything.
drank everything. But for me, it's Grey Goose
Brusco.
or bourbon.
Okay.
Or some Scotch and some Irish whiskey, but I don't get sick from it.
Now, the
So
whiskey
that's-
and the bourbon, will you mix it with anything, or do you usually drink it like we are?
I just drink
here today?
straight.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Joe?
I'm with you. Stop it.
I didn't say anything.
You were gonna.
I was gonna.
Was gonna.
So it really depends. It depends on my mood. Depends on where we are. I recently just got into ciders. I'm like, it's cold. Why are you into ciders right now? Stop it.
Dickens ciders?
No.
Or
So, but
that was an old Bob and Tom
yes,
skit
Ba-dum,
from
bum, bum,
many years
bow.
ago. Yeah. I don't remember which button.
it's okay.
Can
It's
I get
okay.
Can I get a remote access to the
I
buttons?
I really like myself a dirty martini. Every once in a while, I'll have wine. I like Irish whiskey a lot. I like Scotch. I mean, I'm all over the map. It really just depends on where I'm at and who I'm with.
So, same question for you, like I had with Ryan. If you're doing the whiskey or the bourbon, do you mix it or do you do straight?
I do straight, but sometimes I like an old fashioned, and you don't use good bourbon in an old fashioned. It's just like your run of the mill.
You don't use the top
Top
of the
shelf.
line,
Yeah.
top shelf stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
that
bourbon
sense.
makes a good old fashioned.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But you could get a Buffalo Trace and boom, that's a really good daily drinker. It's really good in an old fashioned, in my opinion. And all different types of old fashions. I mean, it's amazing what they can do with it, and smoking them, and yeah, I'm all over.
I will say, when we were in Chicago for New Year's Eve, I did drink mixed drinks.
You did. I'm so proud of you.
It was a Great Gatsby themed
Oh,
party.
okay.
Oh my
Fun.
God, it was so sexy looking.
It was kind of a burlesque.
Oh.
They had like a burlesque stage.
That's not kind of. It was.
It was fully.
We got pictures.
Okay.
It was a great experience. Eve enjoyed it. There were actual women performers, not all, skinny
Yes.
chicas up on
Real
the stage.
women.
Yes.
Good.
The food was good. The drinks were good. But they had one of the drinks in the Gatsby theme was Old Scout. And that's what Gatsby used to call the neighbor guy.
Yeah.
And it was essentially kind of like an old fashioned. But it had some other kind of orange liqueur in it that made it a little different.
Maybe a Grand Marnier or something.
Yeah. And the first one I had, I'm like, okay. But they're premium. So it was a 4-hour bar package that was part of the thing.
Okay.
But their bourbon was Jim Beam Black, which was okay. But it's like I need ice and stuff, so I'm just going to mix it up. So I had 3 of those.
What about you? What's your drink of choice, Elizabeth?
I will typically drink a martini, or I'm a Jack and Coke girl.
All right.
This is my I'm so shocked face. Jack and
That's
Coke.
typically what I will drink is Jack and
What?
Coke.
What?
That's,
I have known her for a really long time, and it's always been Jack and Coke. Jack and Coke.
I was Crown and Coke.
Oh, so
Were
the,
you?
Until I
the
started
martini.
bourbon.
Is new.
okay.
Martini's new. That's new.
Do you like it dirty?
Extra dirty. Just kidding.
I gotta go. I gotta go.
There is a lot of innuendo on this show.
Yeah. No,
Clearly.
I'm just messing with you.
Clearly. No, I'm more of a foo-foo. Like, my favorite martini is an espresso martini.
Ooh, we had some really good ones.
You
Yes.
did?
You should come out with us sometime.
We're here in town.
Yeah.
I got a favorite place in town where I drink espresso martinis.
Where?
Am I allowed to say?
Yes.
Oh,
What if
we
all-
advertise for everybody.
We do.
It's just
What if all
eventually
this
they're going to
fame
figure it
gets
out.
me stalked?
We're gonna,
I love it.
eventually,
think
we'll,
you're safe.
We'll get sponsored.
I'm safe. Sanchez.
Shut your
Wow.
mouth.
They have some of the greatest espresso martinis.
Interesting.
Yes, very, very good.
Where's your espresso martini fave, Ryan?
Dominican.
I don't even like.
Vasquez.
Vasquez.
I don't even like-
Yeah, baby. That's
Sorry,
what
I'm so
Vasquez
confused.
said. So our bartender in the Dominican at the Preferred Bar was Vasquez. And he always, every time we walked in, he'd see us. He'd go, "Yeah, baby."
Oh my!
Yeah.
So
It
that's
was- it
that's
was
how you
right.
say that's how you say hi down there.
Yep.
Yeah, baby.
I'm going to take that with me today. If
You
I've
should.
learned nothing, I've learned that.
Yep.
We hope you learned something.
And you don't like Angels Envy Rye.
I'm disappointed. You can give it over to me. I'll drink it.
I was
Give
going
it.
to say, I'll take the
Oh,
other
wait.
one if you're not going
It's
to
dry
drink the other.
January.
I'll have probably
I
one
know.
more sip of this, but then I won't
You
give it away.
keep it over there. I can always get more. Okay.
Thank you for
kinda-
letting me sidebar. I was genuinely curious about you guys. And
I love it.
No,
you.
you have any more
Bourbon.
questions for us?
Not right now. I was
Okay.
just kind of curious as long as we were talking about.
Do you
If
see any
something
dead
comes
people
to
here?
you, I was going to say, if something comes to you, just
Speak up.
ask.
I feel like I'm
ask
being
it.
harassed.
Is anybody here? Elizabeth, who is it? Is he talking?
Wow.
I don't know. I got nothing.
We'll edit her out.
Okay, that's probably a great idea.
As we do. No, I'm just
That's a
kidding.
great
We
idea.
don't edit
You
JoJo.
bitches.
Is there anybody here? JoJo, Ryan, Thee. How
So-
did I do?
I was going to
I
say
gotta-
somebody's clouding the energy.
I know,
At
right?
this
I'm
point.
gonna bring it back, y'all. Bring it back, y'all.
Okay.
Have you ever felt extremely overwhelmed by multiple spirits?
Yes.
Do you have any stories about that you could share?
No.
I hate it when I ask yes or no questions. I need to work on my open-ended.
No, it's fair. There's one story, but I don't really want to share
Okay.
it.
All right. Fair.
Is it a recent story or?
It's a recent story.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
just in the last
And
couple
see,
years,
Joe's
but-
not reading the room again.
Uh-huh.
Is it mostly
Persistent.
okay? I'll take it a different direction. Is it mostly one at a time, or
Yes.
directly?
Yes.
Okay.
One person. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have any funny ones that you can share? Like stuff that just like right now, like you're thinking about it, you're smiling. I'm like,
I'm
is there
trying
one-
to think of like anything that's been funny. I mean,
or anything that's like
This seems like it's kind of mostly serious. Like,
well, and people's reactions are sometimes super funny. I mean,
Right.
You know, I have a story of I was out and about downtown Grand Rapids and ran across this gentleman, and I was like, "Hey," I had been having a little whiskey, but I was like, so I was a little more forthcoming, and
you
I
were
was
like, "Hey."
Yeah, it was like midnight-ish. Anyway. So I was like, "Hey," and he's like, "Yes, ma'am." And I said, "I got your mom with me." He said, "My mother's passed." I said, "I know, she's right here." And that went well for me, thank you, because I could have just been punched in the face, but I was not. It was actually a really good conversation. But so sometimes, you know, the whiskey takes over and I get a little more, "Hey, guess what? I need to talk to you." My inhibitions go down a little. So it's not so much that it's serious all the time. It's just,
So it's not even like you have to be focused and in that mindset. It
I
just comes when it comes.
I usually am not focused and am not in that mindset. I don't often put myself there because it's not something I actually think a lot about myself. I don't put a lot of thought into it. And so a lot of times it does just kind of happen.
So, I'm sorry if this sounds like a stupid question, but like once you've been through that, is it like mentally, physically draining?
Yes. Yes, it can be very exhausting depending on how lighthearted the conversation might have been. Again, it comes back to that energy thing, right? How I mesh with their energy. I did do a reading one time of somebody whose story was quite tragic, and when the reading was done, I was just needed to be alone because I felt kind of like that energy and what they had felt. So it can be. And then sometimes I can just be full of it. Like, just completely
We know
energized.
you're full of it.
I know.
I was gonna say
You don't have to explain.
I was gonna say based on just your question, that's where I was gonna go. Is that I've seen her in times where it's just too much. She just can't keep answering everyone, and she just has to. I don't know how she does it, but she just turns it off, blocks it out. I don't know if you have to do some hocus pocus, yada yada yada.
no, no.
but I don't know. But I know that it exhausts her and takes a lot out of her, and she has to just kind of pull away. And I'm not sure mentally what that is and what that entails, but I've seen the just the pull on her, and she has to step away from that gift side of her.
Sometimes that is true.
I think it's really interesting, and maybe once the podcast is done, you can do me a reading with the cards because I've never seen it. Like I've done a number of tarot cards, right?
I can try.
And I mean,
They
we'll
will
see.
say Ohio State
We'll
on
see.
the
Can't
cards.
Forewarning.
read them then.
No?
I cannot.
I
Those
was-
are
I was gonna
those are all
say.
broken.
I cannot
broken.
read those.
I think they've got some good mojo right now. Because I am going to throw that out there. We still are in the playoffs.
Oh,
You are,
you,
Ryan.
You got to
You are.
memorialize it, right?
I got to stick this in here in the podcast while it lasts.
I love that.
Okay, we can move on now.
Well, the interesting thing about the cards is you actually can't just read any deck of cards. So I have a very specific deck of cards to me that I kind of slept with in my pillowcase and all the weird mumbly jumbly crazy voodoo
So
stuff.
you drooled on it?
I did.
Okay.
And that's why the King of Diamonds is wet, so I know which
Yeah.
one it is.
I have one
I'm
too.
surprised it's
I have
not
a
the
deck.
Queen of Diamonds.
Suck
that's
it.
right, but
You get assigned your own suit. So I have my own suit. So when I'm flipping, I know who.
what's your suit?
I don't remember.
No, it's interesting.
So could I with a different deck of cards? Sure, I could try, but technically I do have my own reading deck at
Okay.
home. And now I've never read tarot cards.
All right.
Never done that. And
Why
you want
is
to know
that?
the little fun fact? I'm a skeptic too
On tarot?
on
Everything.
everything.
Oh, really?
I'm a little bit of a skeptic too.
Explain this.
I believe in science too. And I do see these people who I see these shows like Ryan was talking about, like where they can debunk it. And I hear some of the, like, the scientific brain things and this, and I'm like, maybe I am just crazy. I mean, I am a bit of a skeptic too, like I'm like, did that really just happen?
That is so interesting.
I'm not like, you hear those like mediums or people on the TV or whatever that are just like, this is my whole identity, Nope, not mine.
It's not. Yeah, you're not paying the bills with it.
No, absolutely
And
not. And sometimes I question, wait, should you go get checked? Or did this really happen? And then I have instances like at the bars or with people where I'm like, how did I know this? Then I question myself, how did this happen? So it's a weird balance between, yes, I absolutely believe, and I'm a bit of a skeptic.
Well, and you'd have to be pretty damn confident on what you're feeling
Mm-hmm.
to just go up to a stranger and say, "Hey, I'm talking to your dead dad right now," or
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
takes
you don't
balls.
say it like
no,
that.
but it takes balls.
I mean,
She got those from me.
Listen to that. Crickets. Crickets for your bullshit.
Wait. Ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Meow. There you go.
but I think that was
See,
more of a.
I think I need the soundboard.
Well, she was kind of
Can
a
we
little
can we
puss
give me a
puss.
remote control?
I do have a remote control.
All right.
But
So I think that's a little fun fact a lot of people don't know about me. They assume that I just believe in all the things and all the...
Well, because you believe in one thing, assuming you have to believe in everything else,
Right, and you
Like
don't.
I can see the future, like I can, like
Yep.
I know.
It's
Tell me the lotto numbers, and then I'll know you're for real. And it's like, whoa. That's not how it works. Or everybody would be millionaires, right? So, yeah. I mean, I was a skeptic when we first met. I was like, man. And then she just told me about this dark-haired, kind of curly-haired woman in a moo-moo. Yeah, it was my grandma, William.
I don't remember that.
Oh my God, that's why I started to believe in you, you fool.
That can happen too, though. I can go through a reading, I can go through things, and then it's like, people are like, blah, 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 this happened. I'm like, it did?
And
What?
that's surprising because she remembers everything.
I noticed.
It's horrible.
Champagne, Decatur.
It's horrible. I couldn't buy her Christmas presents. So I bought her a Christmas present.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Do you remember those? What were they? Slippers? It is my phone. Sorry.
Yes, I remember the slippers.
Yeah. So I bought her a Christmas present, and I was so excited. I'm like, she's gonna love these. Blah blah blah. And I get them all wrapped, and I put them, to put them on the tree. And the little fucker knew what it was.
I did not.
one F-bomb.
I've been good.
You have. Let it flow, Joe.
I've been
I'm
really
getting
trying.
a reading on you right now.
I've been
This
trying
is
to be a
about
better.
to start coming
A
out.
better
The
human.
whiskey has set in.
It's coming, baby. It's coming. But yeah, I was so mad. I mean,
She was so mad. And I had not asked for those, so there was like, I was just like, I don't know. There's something like fuzzy and white in the box.
and I went,
Are you fucking
serious?
kidding me right now?
It happened to me all the time. It was awful
You're mean. Why
Really?
wouldn't you hold that in, Elizabeth?
because she's an asshole.
Have you met Joe? It's fun.
It is. I appreciate
it.
that.
I get it.
It's fun.
It was awful. It was awful.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, I did not. You scarred me for life.
Wow.
Yep, it
That's
was-
for
I had to go to therapy.
yeah, that's for your next show.
Seriously though,
We have 10 minutes.
All right.
only 10? There's so much more to say.
I muted me on that. So you guys, I did the off-air thing so you
Yeah.
could hear me
And then
talk,
you just kept babbling.
and then you brought
Why?
it up.
You said it through my headphones.
I know,
Yeah,
but
but he
I...
muted.
You're going to have
I
to cut
can-
all this, you know.
Bullshit out.
No. It's our first episode. People want to hear how
Stupid we are.
discombobulated we are at this point in time.
Oh, boy. Here we go. How we doing?
Well, any other last-minute items?
Thanks for having me.
No, we appreciate you coming out.
Exactly.
This has been interesting
Yeah.
conversation.
A lot of fun. Thanks for helping us welcome in season 2.
Yes.
Absolutely.
very much
Happy
so.
2025, everyone out there. And we look forward to seeing you guys again in episode 2.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
So don't forget to check us out at It Starts With Whiskey, Rye Guy Whiskey GR.
Joe the Experience on Instagram.
Whiskey Thea on Instagram.
And thanks again, Elizabeth, for showing up. And we'll talk to you all soon.